trying to have a serious conversation. Pre-program profiles, pre-program profiles, pre-program profiles. So if you were to help people skip this entire video and tell them the bottom line right now, if the Logitech G Pro wireless mouse and wired keyboard is worth the pickup, what would you say? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Snake Eater Company. I am Jesse, aka Snake Eater. If you've been here before, you may be looking behind me and wondering what's happened to the studio. We are selling the house. When you sell a house, it's got to be made presentable and move-in ready looking at all times. So I've had to gut the studio a little bit for the sake of appearances. And so we have this sort of more minimalized version of the studio while we move to a new studio. Well, a new house. Okay, what are we talking about today? Well, for the last couple of weeks, I've been using this and this, the Logitech G Pro keyboard and the Logitech G Pro wireless mouse. And I have some thoughts. The first thing that is evident when you start checking these devices out is the aesthetic. Gone is the crazy red RGB sci-fi little notches and stuff hanging off the keyboard to make it look like it came off of some Star Trek set. It's a much more understated, professional, if you will, look to it, and I love that about them both. Truth be told, when I first checked out the mouse, my first impression was that it was basic AF. It was a little too basic looking to me at first. I thought, these buttons don't seem big enough for me to get to, or there aren't enough contours to it. Surely this mouse can't be all it's cracked up to be. The ergonomics of the mouse are really surprisingly good. It is not too big for small hands, I would say, but I have big hands and it's not too small for my hands either. I don't have to claw it because I'm not a claw gripper typically, and it is still very comfortable. It doesn't look like it's super contoured in any way, but it is actually very, very comfortable. It's also ambidextrous, which if you guys are familiar with other ambidextrous mice, you tend to give up ergonomics for the ability to be held in either hand. The G Pro Wireless, on the other hand, is really good. I have loved it every minute I've used it, and it is comfortable. You guys will probably find it that way too. The weight of the mouse is super light. It's 80 grams. I used to prefer heavy mice. I used a 502 for a long time with maximum weights in it, and I felt like it gave me a good, solid, predictable movement, gave me consistency. But when I switched to the Pro Wireless, I was worried I would not like the ultralight weight of it. Turns out it is great for all things, especially gaming. The real sleeping secret in it, though, is the sensor. Gaming mice have touted amazing sensors with ridiculous resolutions for a long time. 12,000, 16,000 DPI. It's not important what the resolution is necessarily. What's important is how accurate the mouse is at really low DPI. Everybody I know, and myself included, game at a very low DPI, like 400 or 800, sometimes 1,000, depending on the game that you're playing. And accuracy at that level is what's important. I didn't realize that the accuracy of my current mouse at the time was wanting, but after switching to the Hero sensor in the Logitech G Pro Wireless, I was blown away. I did not realize what I was missing. It's probably like when you switch to a 120 hertz screen from a 60 hertz screen. You thought you had a good screen until you tried the new jam. And of course, reliability is important. When it comes to wireless mouse, there's been this stigma that it is not reliable enough for professional gaming or any real competitive gaming for a long time. You don't want that signal to get interrupted or drop out even for a second, because that could be the most important second in that match. It comes with a charging cable that has a fork that keeps it from being inserted the wrong way or twisting while it's in. It also comes with an adapter that allows you to use the charging cable as a remote sensor for the wireless dongle, which is pretty cool because it helps you get that dongle closer to the mouse when it's on your desk to avoid any kind of interruption. In this case, as long as the sensor is pretty close to the mouse, in other words, not interrupted with anything in between it, it is rock solid. Like anything wireless, if you put it underneath a desk and kind of far away or interrupted by some other form of electrical field, there's a chance that you'll get some kind of loss and some kind of interruption there. But that's just the nature of signals and wirelessness. I love that they have decided to make the dongle a tiny little USB receiver, transmitter, and it is nestable within the mouse. That means that you can throw it in there, take it with you wherever you go, and you will never be wondering where the heck the dongle went, and you won't have to have a different place to put it. It plays right into this whole needs to be portable, needs to be something you can take with you to different places of competition idea that they've got going on. This thing goes for $150 MSRP. I've seen it as low as $127 on Amazon. That brings us to the Logitech G Pro keyboard. The keyboard is a little less expensive than the mouse at $130 MSRP, and I've seen it for as low as $108. The keyboard draws from the same minimalistic design principles that the mouse pulled from. It looks like it would be perfectly at home in an office or in a creative studio type place where you're not looking for crazy sci-fi props. You're looking for a professional keyboard that works well and looks good. The keyboard I switched from was the Razer Black Widow Chroma version 2. And I actually love that keyboard, but I wanted to switch to a TKL board, and I thought this was a perfect opportunity to try out some of Logitech's new stuff. I prefer quiet keys, or as quiet as they can get. This keyboard uses Logitech's Roamer G switches, which I think is probably their most popular switch. I've enjoyed typing on it a ton. I have one little pet peeve, and I'm probably alone in this. For years, I've been bugged by space bars that are rattly and sound plasticky. All the other keys on the keyboard typically are solid and feel good and sound good. Then you get to a space bar and it sounds like it's barely attached. It rattles and it just doesn't feel good. And it's probably the key that you're going to press 5 or 10 times more than any other key on the keyboard. It was, in fact, the selling point of my Razer Black Widow. The space bar with the orange keys was just solid sounding. It didn't rattle. It didn't sound like plastic. It sounded really good and felt good. I'm sorry to say that this space bar is back to a little bit of a rattly sound. I think that I'm probably the only person with this issue. I've tried many keyboards. I've tried to find another space bar that's like the Razer Black Widow, and I just haven't found any. So I'm assuming that not only is it not an issue for people, but it's probably what people want to hear out of a space bar. Maybe you want to know that when you press that key, the space bar sounds different than all the other keys, so you know that you've actually hit the space bar. I don't know. The only other buttons that I'm not a big fan of on this keyboard are the gaming mode and light on-off switches up in the upper right-hand corner. They have this sort of plasticky, clicky sound and feel to them. They're not membrane, they're not quiet, they just feel like they're plastic. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on RGB lighting because most people consider it kind of a gimmick, but I will say the profiles that are pre-built in this thing have a couple of pretty cool ones. My favorites are Sunstreak and Synchrocycle. Also on the aesthetic front, the font they use, I'm a huge fan of. It's somewhat sci-fi, but again, very understated. I love that you can turn the lights off on this keyboard and it gets a sort of murdered out feel. You can still see all the writing, but the rest of the keyboard is matte black and it's just this cool, really quiet, understated look to it. A lot of people use the Pro moniker to be like you're a professional gamer or something like that. But in this case, I feel like Logitech has nailed the Pro status to an aesthetic that is suitable for professionals of any other industry besides gaming. If you guys have been on the fence with this product lineup, the Logitech G Pro, I would highly recommend you give it a whirl. It is very expensive. You're paying a premium for this line, but it really is super high quality stuff. And there are things to it that are hard to describe to people without just showing them. One of which is the hero sensor. The other is just the general overall quality and feel of the products. I would say you guys are likely to be happy with it. Logitech makes great stuff in general, and I think in the Logitech Pro line, these two products are no exception. Alright guys, that does it for this review. If you have any questions about anything, leave them in the comment section below and I will be sure to get to them. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to help the channel out even more, hit the sub button. If you dig watching games on Twitch, head over to the Snake Eater Company on Twitch and game with us every night of the week. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this time, guys. We will see you in the next video. Peace.